Good morning. Glad to be with you. Here it is already Friday, talking to you about you and your business. Have a lot to cover on today's program. You've heard me many times talk about the virtues of outsourcing. I'm a big fan of it. A lot of people, particularly the politicians, get in a huff about it, talking about exporting jobs to other parts of the world. Part of the problem is that we've created an economic environment that if businesses want to produce products that their clients can afford, government has essentially forced them to export these jobs to other parts of the world. And I think, frankly, that most businesses are not being good stewards of their money, nor taking care of their investors, unless they're seriously considering outsourcing as part of the way of taking care of their clients. That's just the economic reality. If you don't like it, contact your congressman, contact the White House, and tell them to change the tax and regulatory environment in this country that's created this situation where it's only logical to consider outsourcing. I've got A Daven Michaels, who is actually an authority on this topic. He owns a company that specializes in it and has written a book on this very topic, Outsource Smart Without Letting Business Go. And is that correct?
Yeah, Kevin, you're close. It's Outsource Smart, being your own boss without your boss being the boss of you.
No wonder I got that confused, Evan. Hey, great topic, great subject, excellent book, and I want people to educate themselves on this. You know, there's a lot of political bias when it comes to outsourcing, and a lot of average Americans sit there and they huff and they puff about how much they hate outsourcing, even while they're in a checkout line at Walmart, which 90% of what they bought was made somewhere other than the United States. And it's like, stop the hypocrisy, get honest, realize this is the economic realities we're living in, and be smart about it.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny. You nailed it, Kevin. During an economic or during an election year, it's like everybody rallies around how tough or how bad outsourcing is, and so on and so forth. But absolutely, we take a contrarian view, and I speak all over the world to entrepreneurs about the virtues of outsourcing. And everywhere I go, entrepreneurs are now outsourcing, and it's this is what I call outsourcing 3.0. The outsourcing 1.0 was the big companies doing it. Outsourcing 2.0 was the little guys trying to figure out, and outsourcing 3.0 is where entrepreneurs are doing it effectively, and they're actually thriving.
This is the new normal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So first of all, let's talk a little about the book, and the practicalities of that. And but I also want to talk a little bit about your business. But kind of give us an overview. What was the objective of the book? I'm sure it's not merely just to make a manifesto or a case for this, but I'm assuming the big emphasis. I've read excerpts of it. The big emphasis is on how to practicably do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what happened was, we've been, I'm CEO of 123 Employee, and we're sort of the premier outsourcing center in the Philippines. We have 3 centers, hundreds of employees, and we really focus, our niche is on entrepreneurs, and we help them with their internet marketing, their social media, their telemarketing, and their busy stuff. And for many years in the business, when we first got started, it was kind of like swimming upstream, because we had to convince, especially people in the U.S., that outsourcing wasn't un-American. And then something happened in our business. It was sort of a tipping point, and what that really was when Tim Ferriss's book came out, The 4-Hour Workweek. That really, that was a game changer, and it really got people excited about the prospect of running a virtual business, a business that they could run all over the world and, travel, have fun, and still grow their business. And so people really loved the book, and there was some great information in the book, but I wanted to create a book that sort of continued where the 4-Hour Workweek left off. I think people got hungry for it, but what I found when I travel all over the world and I speak to entrepreneurs is that they know they have to outsource, but they're not quite sure exactly where to start. So I wanted to give practical step-by-step information on exactly how to do it.
Yeah, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. What's great about it is that the fact that you are doing it. How long have you been doing this? How long has 123 Employees been around?
Sure. 123 Employees been around for about 6 years. I'm close to 7 years now. But I'll tell you what happened was I've been self-employed for nearly 3 decades, Kevin, and most of those years have been fruitful, so I'm very thankful. But it didn't come without a cost. In the early days, I worked my tail off. I worked 60 to 80 hours a week for years, and if you're an entrepreneur listening to this, I know that you can relate. And all during that time, I kept thinking to myself, there's got to be a better way. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to speak, empower, teach, make a difference in people's lives, and I wanted to just see the world. I was a small town guy, and I just wanted to see what it was all about. At the same time, I wanted to build my brick and mortar business, and that's exactly what I did. Today, I run a multi-million-dollar business with hundreds of employees, and I do it from a cell phone and laptop. And what I want people to know is that it is totally possible. And in the pages of my book, I show everybody how to do it.
Yeah, one of the things I think is really awesome, by the way, I'm checking out 123employees.com. That may be where people want to go learn more about you, because I'm sure somewhere on here is also information about the book.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, you know what? It's funny that you mentioned that. It's not. The website is actually 123employee.com, and you're right, absolutely right. We do need to put a link on it. It's so funny. The book's just become a New York Times bestseller, and that's because we really kicked butt on the marketing of the book. But I forgot to put a link on the website.
Well, I think, Daven, if you can give yourself permission to do that, I would do that.
Yes, I think that would be a good idea. It's so funny how you can miss the obvious right in front of your face. But if you go to OutsourceSmart.com, you can check out the book, or of course you can grab it at Amazon or Barnes & Noble or any of the retailers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about 123 Employees. One of the things I think is really shrewd about what you've done is that you chose the Philippines as your primary place for outsourcing talent. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Kevin. And the reason why is, I always say that you can tell, and by the way, the company is 123employeesingular.com.
Right, employee, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. And, I always say, Kevin, that you can tell the pioneers because they're the ones with the arrows in their back, right? And in the early days of outsourcing, it was all about India. India was the bold pioneers, but somehow they kind of messed it up, especially with voice-based services. Now, if you're doing coding or data entry or building software or web design, I think India is the place to do it. But they ended up missing the mark when it came to voice-based services, and there's sort of a stigma. People, especially in the U.S., don't like to call a company in here India. So what happened was the big companies originally outsourced to India, then they insourced back to the U.S., and then they tried out the Philippines. And the reason why is there were some smart people in the Philippines in government, and they took a look at India's model, and they said, I think we could do this better. And that's exactly what they've done. And the reason why is because, in the Philippines, everybody speaks English. It's a close...
it's actually mandatory. Everyone learns English. There is a little bit of an accent, but their English is completely clear. I've got a couple of friends that are from the Philippines, and we don't have any language barriers.
Yeah, exactly. And they're totally westernized. They love us. They're one of the few countries that absolutely adore us. And so it's a great place to do it. And so what happened was they actually taken off when it's come to voice-based services. And today it's interesting to note there are more voice-based outsourced virtual assistants in the Philippines than there actually are in India. So much so that India has set up they've taken all their voice-based services, moved them to companies like ours in the Philippines.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that India is now outsourcing to the Philippines?
Big time. It's huge. It's huge.
This world has gotten crazy.
Yeah, well, they're so smart,
Yeah, they are smart. I tell you, the Indians are so incredibly smart. One of my close friends is Indian, and I tell you, she keeps pretending I'm smart, but she could easily wrap me around her finger in the intellectual department. And,
I always tell people it's no mistake that the VP of our company is actually Indian. We're not in India. We do have a small team in India, but our VP of the company is Indian because he's brilliant.
So it sounds like you specialize in the areas that have a lot of tactical human communication involved. That's the specialty of your firm.
We do, and that's because so many of our clients are either entrepreneurs or solopreneurs. So we're not taking people's jobs away in the U.S. What we're doing is we're working with entrepreneurs and solopreneurs that may have never had any employees, and we might give them a full-time employee or a part-time employee, and we start helping them with their marketing, and then they begin to grow, and then they hire more of our people. They grow, we grow. It's a symbiotic relationship, and once in a while we hit a home run, and one of our people goes from nothing to 10 employees or 40 employees, and that's a huge win for everybody.
Yeah, Daven Michaels has been our guest. Which website do you want to promote for this interview?
I would love OutsourceSmart.com.
OutsourceSmart.com. Check it out. And let me ask you, do you have a link on there to 123 Employee?
We do.
I was going to say, you need to give yourself permission to do that one, too. Sorry about that. Okay, I made myself laugh. That's just ridiculous. All right, Daven, thanks for being with us. I'm going to put you on hold for just a minute. I want to chat with you during the break.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, when we come back, we'll have more for you. Do want to remind you, best content here, it shows up over there at usdailyreview.com, and you're listening to The Price of Business.